Hey everybody, welcome to the Mzansi Gunner Podcast. This is Dayne with you, your host. Sorry for the delay. I was just helping someone. And we have two new guests today. We have Tim back as a regular. We have Andre, who's here in the Cape, and Daniel, who's in Durban. So we're quite spread all over, with Tim being in Holland, and I'm in Cape Town. Renaya will join us soon. He's in Joburg. So we're going to be nice and spread. Normally it was a lot of Joburg contributors, but now we're getting people from all over the country, which really makes it the Mzansi Gunners podcast. So thank you for everyone joining today. Thank you for your new viewers. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And let's start with talking about the last. We've had a lot of games since we last had our podcast. We're going to start with the Port Vale result, which was 2-0. We thought we'd crush them, and we kind of just had a very controlled game. So I'm going to let Tim start, and then we'll go to Daniel and Andre. What was your thoughts on the Port Vale game?
Yeah. Hey, folks. Glad to be back. Thanks for inviting me back on, Dayne. Port Vale feels like a long time ago now. It wasn't. We are flying through games at the moment. So I think just my high-level thoughts from the game are, I know when Eze scored early on, it did feel like it was going to be a bit of a walkover. And a lot of Arsenal fans like me have the legacy of the Wenger era, where we expect every League Cup game to be a bit of a men versus boys. Our academy guys come out, destroy a team of professional men who are just way below it in terms of competitiveness even. But it just doesn't happen like that anymore. Like, every team is a decent team. Every team is physical, well coached, low block. So it felt for me like Arsenal tried to cruise through it, just get through the game, and kind of a similar game to what came later, to be honest, in the Champions League. But yeah, that's my thoughts, really. I wasn't worried about not hitting them 5-0 or anything like that. I thought it was a good game, good rotation, good use of the squad, and a decent result, and another clean sheet.
Thank you for your views. Let's hear from you, Daniel.
Yeah, so I did manage to watch the game. I was obviously a bit underwhelmed with the score in the end, but listen, I mean, I was happy when Eze capitalized nice and quickly, especially when you saw how slick his first goal was from Miles, and just that nice little play in small spaces to obviously get that nice little. And Eze was so composed with that finish, to be fair. He didn't even, it looked like he didn't even have to think about it. It just happened. And from there, you obviously thought, okay, well, this is probably going to be a nice little bit of entertainment for us. But then obviously, Port Vale dug in and, got their structure right defensively and started making life a little bit difficult for us. But yeah, nothing to really complain about, to be fair. I know there's been a few people out there that are like, what's going on? Why can't we put them away? How do we not, the standard, the standard little outbursts. But other than that, listen, solid performance. We didn't actually concede any shots on target, so yeah, that's another good little stat for us to rack up in that game, really.
Thanks, bro. Thanks for sharing. I think that was good. Welcome, Ryan. Sorry for you being a bit delayed. Yes, let's hear from Andre now. He's got lots of fans in the comments. Thank you for bringing new viewers to the pod.
Thanks, guys, for the opportunity. Yeah, so the Port Vale game it was a bit of a toss-up. I think we were very reactionary as a fan base, because I think the transfer window created a lot of expectation around how the team would blitz past every team that we come across. But I think fundamentally we forget that we need to give the players a chance to integrate into the team. And integration takes a while, because you have to build chemistry with your players around you. So Eze, I was stoked about, because I think everybody can agree it was almost like a childhood dream come true. He was in the system, left at a young age, proved himself at Palace, and came back. And I think we also need to allow for ourselves to manage our expectations because um, they finding themselves. And the 2-0 result, fair reflection. We didn't dominate the game like we used to. But I also think that we get found out the way we play. Our system has been found out last season already. But it is also a nice feeling to see that Arteta is evolving in his role and we're finding ways to get to the result. It's not pretty at the moment, but it is going to benefit us in the long term.
No, definitely, bro. Thanks for that. Ryan, what did you think? We're just doing quick thoughts on the Port Vale game, and then we'll get to the meteor games. Yeah, what did you think? I know people were wanting us to win 5 or 6-0 because they think they're like 19th in the second league or something like that. So what's your thoughts on the Port Vale game? You're muted, I
Who are
think.
you asking?
I was asking you, Ryan.
Okay. Oh, sorry. What are you asking about the Port Vale game?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I feel quite similar. I think it's been a really interesting period that we've seen recently. We've seen actually quite a few changes from Arteta's setup, which we can discuss later. I agree. I think people expected quite a big score there. But, at the end of the day, you've got to take each game as it comes. You've got to rotate where you can. And it's always difficult to play those teams. Port Vale are they in League One or are they in the Championship? I think they're probably in League One. I'm not actually too sure. League Two. Okay, sorry, I thought they were in League One. Anyways, yeah, it's always tricky to go to those games. It's a very different environment to play against teams like that. The guys tend to come in a little bit later in the tackles, and they're a bit dirtier and a bit rougher, and you tend to lower your game a little bit to their game at times. So I think you've just got to get what you can in those games.
No, agreed, bro. I think let's go on to the big game, the Newcastle game next. I want to hear from Tim and Ryan more because they have to leave a bit early. So let's hear your thoughts, Tim, on the Newcastle game, and then we'll come to Ryan and Renai next for the Newcastle game. I know it was a big game, big result. What's your emotional response, and then what's your analysis?
I mean, what a game, man. This is why we do what we do, why we support this club and this watch the Premier League the way we do. It's the best league in the world. Any game which is resolved after the 90th minute just feels like whatever way it goes, it's either heartbreak or you're going to have your entire week made. We have not done very well recently when our rivals have tripped up. So since 2022, 2023, whenever a rival has said, look, I'm running away with it, and then you see, okay, they're 5 points ahead, maybe they're 8 points ahead, and then they lose, we would typically mirror that result, or we'd draw, something like that. We wouldn't capitalize when the clubs were dropping points. And I sort of felt that with Liverpool, and Dayne, you'd have seen me on a bit of a crusade around the whole fixture list piece here. But the moment I saw what Liverpool had over an 8-week period and what we had over the next 8 weeks, and we're now 2 weeks into that 8-week period, it was pretty clear we had the fixtures. It was about the St. James's Park, and we almost needed to do something in that one big game to set us up for all of the smaller games, and there are no small games in this league anymore, but the winnable fixtures. And we just don't do well at St. James. We haven't for years. And so for me, it was incredible. I did see a video, Dayne, about, I'm not sure if that was one of the ones going around the group, but around how Arteta used Trossard to come inside and play in the middle, in the centre mid, and because Newcastle use a man-to-man system, one of the midfield three had to pick up Trossard, but that meant there was an enormous gap where he was leaving it, and Rice could run into that space. It was a fantastic bit of analysis, but basically showed how our midfielders just spread across the field to try and break up Newcastle's man-to-man midfield three, and it worked fantastically. So, yeah, I loved the game, loved the result, loved the winner, and hey, man, big Gabby. He just comes up trumps in big away games. What a player!
Definitely, bro. Big Gabby, I think, has scored. Is it 18 goals?
Yep.
21.
You joined? 21.
Yeah, 21.
21. Okay. So it's just unbelievable. Yeah, let's go to Renai. Are you ready to speak? Oh, there we go. So let's hear your thoughts on the Newcastle game.
Newcastle game. What a game. Normally those type of games are games where if we are to go all the way and in a sense we went as far as coming from a goal down, being hard done with the refereeing decision on the possible penalty, and go as far as getting all the maximum points. I think it speaks a lot more to the mentality the guys had for the game, which is something that we've been criticizing a lot as fans, to say there are moments wherein we play way too safe, and we are not going all out. We do not seem like we are a team that wanted it more. But in that game, I saw a different turnout as far as the way in which the guys wanted it. And I think if we can play like that, there is games that you will win tactically, but certain games would want you to play with your heart. And that's what I saw with each and every player that was in the field. Even the guys that came in, they came in playing like they want to die for the team, which is exactly what we want. I think if you can go back into a couple of seasons where we came too close and we never really crossed the line, we can blame a whole lot of things. We can blame the squad depth, we can blame injuries, but in all honesty, there were moments where you could feel that we didn't play like a team that believe that they can be able to do something or get something. Hence, it has been very difficult for us to come from games wherein we concede first. So it was something which was very, very interesting and exciting to see. I don't want to lie. That game, it made my week. I approached a newer week with pride, knowing that I've got a team with players who are willing to die for the badge. So I think that was the only thing that is different, wherein we were not relying a lot more on the tactics, but there were also an element of gut in the manner in which we approach the game, which is something that you need, especially in a situation wherein we've been coming too close but not getting across the line.
No, bro, I agree. Heart was definitely shown. It was beautiful to see. So we're thankful that things have started to shift in terms of, especially at St. James's Park and against mid blocks, which have been it's been our kryptonite for the last few seasons. And I think we've got Fulham away coming next, and that's another team we've struggled against. So if we can get positive results against Newcastle and Fulham, I'm actually more worried about Newcastle, Fulham, West Ham, and Villa than I am about the big six teams, because those are the teams we've dropped the most points against in the last few seasons. So things are looking really positive, and we'll talk about Liverpool later, but Liverpool aren't looking so great this whole season. they look unbalanced, but we'll get there. Let's hear from Ryan, and then what's your thoughts on the Newcastle game? And then we can go to Daniel next.
A few things. First off, really happy with the result. Newcastle is the team that I like to watch Arsenal play the least, because they play a very physical game. They almost play like a championship side. It's like watching Eddie Howe's old Bournemouth team playing, but they've got a really good squad. That's like, in my opinion, the way they play. A lot of man marking, as Tim mentioned, very, very physical, very intense. It seems to get away with a lot, actually, especially against us. There were two things that were very significant. It was the Newcastle game and then also the Olympiacos game. I actually sent you a photo. I was in the group from the Olympiacos game, but it was very similar in the Newcastle game, where for a lot of the game, Rice was actually almost completely in line with Zubimendi. So normally Rice would start as an 8 and then track back to like kind of a 6 position at times in between Zubimendi and, say, Odegaard or Eze. In this case, in those two games, he was actually starting as a 6 and pushing forward, which was really interesting to see. And it was the first time in about 4 years that the lineup didn't say 4-3-3, it said 4-2-3-1. So it was really interesting. It was like a different setup. As Tim has also mentioned in the past, our formation is very fluid. We've kind of changed a 3-4-3 to a 3-5-2 and then a 4-3-3, depending on whether we're attacking. It seemed like kind of a double pivot, which we haven't seen for a very long time. And that also changed, obviously, in the most recent game. But it was really interesting to see how we changed. We played around with that formation a little bit. What I didn't notice as much was Trossard coming into the center. I know Eze played kind of centrally. He almost played as a 10 at times. I'll watch it again, because that would be genius for Trossard to be cutting in every time to kind of throw them off. So I think we played a brave game. We played a strong game. We weren't intimidated by them, which is huge. Gabriel has to be the best attacking defender on the planet, so that's exciting. I think we've got a situation where we've got multiple players who can play multiple positions, and they play them really well. So it's quite an exciting period to be a fan.
No, good thoughts, bro. I agree. It's very exciting to see us beat a team like Newcastle, especially with the tactical changes that we made. I think that is very exciting. Let's go to Daniel next. What's your thoughts on the Newcastle game, bro?
Relieving, if I can say that. I think the Newcastle game for us, I think psychologically is going to be one of the most important ones we can ever have, really. Because, I mean, if you look at last season with the 2 cup games as well as our trip to St. James's Park, it wasn't very successful. They totally nullified us. They made us look very amateur last season. And going into this game, that's the thought process, because you can only go off the last evidence that you have, which is your last few games against him. And going into that game, I'll be honest, with Liverpool dropping points, I thought, naturally as an Arsenal fan, not being able to say, hey, we've capitalized on these crucial moments last season, I was kind of like, I really hope we don't drop the ball on this. And I can bet my life on it, the players are probably thinking the same thing too. Watching Liverpool drop points, you're going into probably one of the most intimidating stadiums. And the guys just shrugged it off. They shrugged it off. They went with something different. We didn't do your traditional, I call it the horseshoe. When you found last season with Marino and us being very robust, we would create almost like a horseshoe, where basically you're just passing it like this around the center rather than going through the middle. And that's why I think obviously a lot of fans got very annoyed and pretty much bored because of the same patterns over and over again. Where this time, like Tim mentioned about Trossard, funny enough, I was watching the highlights the other day and I just happened to notice sometimes Trossard was even taking passes off our centre backs. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing all the way back there? So Mikel and the team have obviously done a little bit of studying. And I kind of think that's kind of like your Eze effect in a way. We got a little bit more of a technical team now who can do these little triangle passes and, through these tight spaces and break midfields down a lot easier than last season, where we were very robust. Your Marinos, Rices, Odegaard was figured out. It was really nice to see that they had changed it up. And I mean, to win in that fashion, to score in the 84th minute, I was tearing my hair out, I'll be honest. I wasn't composed. I was thinking, here we go again. The typical St. James's Park hoodoo. And Marina goes and scores against his old team, which makes it even better. And then obviously Gabriel to just wrap it up in the end. I think there's no better way to win it. As much as I'd want to sit here and say it would be amazing to see us just completely plow them 5-0 and have a nice chill day, I'd say it was well worth it in the end to wait until the 96th minute in order to kind of rub it in Liverpool fans' faces a little bit. So yeah.
Bro, I heard someone say, I think it was Mark on the group, who said that going to St. James's Park is like going to Mordor.
It is. It is. It's not impossible to break those guys down there. Whatever they've got going there, whether it's Muti or what. Well,
they're a bunch of orcs. Joe Linton is an orc. An Urukai. He's an Urukai, and Bruno Guimaraes is an orc.
It's a good comparison.
Oh, classic. So we've got a nice comment from Patricia. The last two results strengthen her belief in our chances of winning the Premier League this year, given how we struggled with those two teams in the previous two seasons. I think it's definitely true. Thanks, Patricia. Thanks for your comments. You always have wise things to say on the Facebook and WhatsApp groups, so thank you. And I know that you're a younger gunner, so you haven't seen us lift the title. So I know that this is exciting times for those who are younger gunners. Let's hear from Andre next. What's your thoughts on the Newcastle game?
I think my sentiments are more in line with you guys as well because Eddie Howe is a bit of a mental monster. For Arteta, I don't know how many games we actually went to Newcastle in the last 5 years and we actually got the win. And I know a lot of guys were stressing about Jokeres, but I was impressed. Honestly, I was impressed. The work rate off the ball was phenomenal. And knowing that you're going up against Dan Burn, and you can see there was a little bit of the dark arts employed to try and stifle our attacks. Definitely try to apply a lot of pressure on Zubamendi. But yeah, that guy's also press resistant, man. I don't have words for it. Like in those tight moments, beating 2-3, rushing midfielders, and then still having the vision to find the pass. At times, I just stood there and I thought to myself, how did he have the presence of mind to pick out his player? And it's imperfect. You see our wingers and our forward not having to reduce the pace. The ball is it arrives at perfect timing, no delay in reaction, and just applies the pressure accordingly. Newcastle, for me, my main concern was whenever we leave Newcastle, there's always one or two players that have niggles, little injuries that we have to worry about. And I was happy we got out of there with a win without any real material injuries because um, Olympiacos was next and West Ham, and we already started the season averaging each game with one injury layoff. So I was just happy we got out there with the win.
Yeah, good shots, bro. I actually you were talking about Zubamendi. He's been my best player, so that's why I wrote you for the first 7 games. Who's been our best new signing? I would say Zubamendi. Who would you say, Andre?
100%. It's not even in question. I watched some of his highlights where I don't know the delicateness of the touches and the passes and just the vision. I don't even know how he screens in real time because there was this one incident against Olympiacos and we were applying the pressure. The CDM rushed him, he beat him, and as the number 8 pulled in to intercept the ball, moved it past him, and without looking to the right, it's almost as if he saw the phases before, even releasing the ball, and immediately he laid it off, and Saka was in. I was like, whoa. Like I was honestly shocked. I knew he was good. I thought he might need time to adjust because he's not the fastest. But it kind of justifies in seeing that why Bayern Munich wanted him, why Real Madrid, why Barcelona, why Liverpool wanted him and got rejected twice. So I think it's just our biggest asset at the moment is having a midfielder of that quality that could dictate the tempo of our play.
And how amazing is not just his play, but the guy's always smiling. Like Superman in every picture is like
I
so
don't know,
happy
it's
to be in Arsenal. Like,
that's beyond words at this point, honestly, because I mean, we lost won the Premier League in now invincible year. We had a final in the Champions League and we won the FA Cups in the 2010s. And still to have that pull where a player would say, I don't want to go to Liverpool. And they recently won the Champions League and the league. I don't want to go to Bayern Munich. Arteta's the guy that's going to take me to the next level. That speaks volumes. And I always said our team is relatively young, and a lot of the youngsters have over 100 appearances with the team now. So the experience is there. It's only a matter of time. I think we just need to win one, and then our period of dominance will start. I know it's a bold statement, but honestly, that's how I feel.
no, I think it's wise. I just want to go to Tim again because I know he needs to jump off now. I know you're a big Zubamendi fan, so just give us a bit of give Zubamendi a glow up here before you jump off.
What a way to end my contribution to the podcast. Yeah, you can always bait me with a bit of a chat about Supermendy. I mean, Andre hit the nail on the head. He has delicate touches. He has the way he plays is a strange combination of aggression and delicacy. You know, it's like yesterday he comes on. He was supposed to be benched. You know, he was getting his game where Arteta is doing that thing, right, with the midfield where Rice gets benched a game, Odegaard gets benched a game, Marino gets benched. Now Zubi got his chance. Sit down, my son. Rest up those legs. And then immediately Odegaard's fragile body breaks again. And so we've got Zubamendi on the pitch. What does he do? He just takes over, man. Like everything roots through him. You'd think he's been there for years because everyone defers to him. They give him the ball and then they go, oh, let's see what Zubamendi's going to do with it. And what does he do with it? He's the one who chips the ball over for the for the first goal. He's the one who passes it to Eze, right? For Eze to hit the ball, comes out, Declan hits it. Then for the second goal, he's the one who chips that beautiful curling pass. Timber brings it down, he gets taken out, and we win the penalty. You don't really see that on the stats. That isn't going to show up as an assist. That isn't going to, give you any big headlines on the numbers, but we can see what's happening. He is insane. And last comment from me on Zubi, the number of aerial duels, I think Dayne, you put it in the chat the other day. The guy wins as many aerial duels as Van Dijk at the moment in terms of success rate. And I saw that little guy win a duel against Dan Burn and Nick Voltemade in the Newcastle game. Brother, when you are 5 foot, 8 or 9 or whatever he is, I don't know, maybe he's a little bit taller than that. You have no right to win an aerial duel against 6'5" and 6'6" players. He's incredible. I don't miss Partey at all, and not just for the out of footballing context reasons, but I just think Zubamendi is a better player in many different departments.
No, thanks, Tim.
For having me on here, Dayne.
Sorry about the short pod today. We'll do it better next time, but it was great to have you as always, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, mate.
Let's go to Renai next. We haven't heard from you for a while. What's your thoughts on we've already spoken to you about Newcastle. What's your thoughts on the best signing of the season so far, of those 4 players that I mentioned?
I would still say it. I'll echo what the guys are saying with Zubimendi. I think the first pod that I was on, I did mention the fact that he might just be one of the most important signings. And for a mere fact that he's one whom we've heard about from as early as Jan, it does show as to how tactically Arteta might have had in his plans from as far as back then. So I think it doesn't really surprise me how well he came in, and he's so comfortable in the ball. he looks like he's someone who belongs there, someone who has been there. So yeah, I think for now, easily he's one of the standout players that we have as far as the new signings are concerned. And I don't see him being dropped anytime soon, or only way in we are going to be playing games which might be deemed as not so tough for the sake of rotation, but I think he will have the most minutes come end of the season.
Yeah. And then what's your thoughts on Gyökeres's first 7 games? I know you're a big Gyökeres fan. What did you think about his play against Newcastle in specific?
What I'm happy with is the work that he's been putting in. Yes, it hasn't really resulted in goals yet. He's been going through a goal spell for the time being. So I think he'll come right, man. The way in which he. Okay,
It's okay. You can let him
this guy.
come say hi. Let him come say hi.
Say hello.
Hello. So yeah, you can continue.
Okay, so yeah, as I was saying, I think the positivity and the manner in which he approaches the game, I think it's just a matter of time before the goal comes in. The approach that the guys are having, the way in which they are trying to play him through, and the constant runs that he keeps on giving. I think it's just a matter of time before we start getting the goals out of him. But yeah, it's not so nice that he's having a dry spell for now, but the work ethic that he's putting in is very encouraging.
Yeah, he's doing well physically. I think that's what I was worried about, that physically he wasn't going to be able to cope with Premier League defenders, but he's actually occupying 2 players, 2 centre backs sometimes, not the whole game, but sometimes, which is actually giving Saka and the left wing more space to play in more pockets. So I think he's doing a lot of unseen things, and that's why some pundits and some people are on his back. But I think I've been really impressed with his his ability to occupy centre backs. I know it's not what we all want to see. We all want to see him score goals, but I think it's like the goals will come. Arteta said at his press conference, I think it was yesterday or the day before. It was yesterday. He said he's very happy with Gyökeres. He's very happy with his level, what he's adding to the team. And I know that he doesn't just say things. Like sometimes I think he's diplomatic, but I think that was genuinely, he was just very happy with especially against West Ham, how he battled and fought and fought and fought. And I think he must be finished after a game because he is in so many physical battles. Let's come to Ryan next. What's your thoughts on... Let's go, I think, to the next game, to the Olympiacos game. What's your thoughts on the Olympiacos game, Ryan?
Yeah, no, I think we got the result we needed. I think it was going to be one of those games where if we had drawn or didn't get, or maybe only scored the 1 goal, there would have been criticism because people would have said that we went there too defensively. But these guys have traveled all the way there. It's a long process. It's Europe. There's a lot of pressure in the Champions League. Those are the type of wins we need. We don't need to score 5 goals against Olympiacos. I think Gyökeres in every game we've played, the most exciting thing for me is that even when he doesn't score, he never disappears. He's always in the game. As you've said, he's always involving himself in some way. He's trying to create something. He's trying to build something. And I think that's what you need from him. Eventually the goals will come, and I think that he's going to go through a purple patch, and it's going to be exciting to watch because I think he's going to be putting them away regularly. The Olympiacos game, I think we did a job. I think we did what we had to do. There was nothing necessarily to write home about as far as the game went. It was we kind of won the game at a canter a little bit. We had obviously chatted about it a lot in the group about Declan Rice playing a bit deeper, playing parallel to Zubimendi, and then shifting into that midfield kind of 8 6 hybrid role, and it's working really well for us. Zubimendi in that game did what he did in every game that he's done this season, and it's exactly what you said and what the Athletics said before we signed him, in that you're not going to see him and you're not going to see the things that he's doing, but he's going to change the game and he's going to win you the title. He's that kind of player. It's the pass to assist, if that makes sense. The kind of the final pass before the assist. Yeah, exactly. And I think
I wish they actually kept track of the pre-assist, because it's a very key stat that shows how important someone is in seeing someone who can give an easy assist.
Exactly, 100%. And the Eze shot was the perfect example, because that was just the absolute perfect pass to him. And then obviously the deflected shot that Rice finished, that only existed because of Zubimendi, and the penalty only existed because of Zubimendi in the most recent game. And he does this every time we watch him. I think, a lot of people have criticized his defense, but I think what people aren't seeing is his positional play. He's always there, man. He's always all over the pitch. If the ball's there and he needs to track back, he's there. He's got an incredible placement. He reads the game very well, and then obviously those just perfect passes, man. Excellent.
And then really cool that we've not conceded a goal in the Champions League in our first 2 games. I thought Olympiacos were actually a very good team. They played quite dynamically. I expected them to low block us like every other team is. And they were compact. They almost played more of a mid-block with good counters. But they were really good, like good and technical, and Raya had to make a few good saves to keep us actually in the game. I think that Olympiacos were more of a threat than City were or Liverpool were. I know that's a crazy thing to say, but I felt like they tested our keeper more than Liverpool and City. So I was very impressed with Olympiacos, and I'm just glad that we beat Edu again and that Marinakis did again after beating Forest. So what's your thoughts, Daniel, on the Olympiacos game?
Yeah, no, I was impressed. Honestly, again, once I saw the Martinelli goal go, and I kind of thought, okay, this is going to be a good day. We're going to be in for a good 4 or 5, because, we started so fluently and, passes were finding each other, or getting the ball in the box, creating havoc. Even the commentators were going a bit mad, which was nice to hear, that they're enjoying our football. But yeah, I must say, I was actually quite surprised on how good Olympiacos really were. They were very, very good with their passing. I will say it's very weird sometimes when I analyze football games, but when I saw Podence in their team, I thought, okay, they're going to come to try to score some goals, because he's been a bit of a nightmare for us over the years, and he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Hazard type player. He can just beat people whenever he wants. He's got that low sense of gravity, and he was the one that actually hit that ball that Raya did that fantastic save to keep us 1-0 up. Who knew what would have happened if that actually went in psychologically? Because, sometimes these teams in the Champions League, they're just like, I don't care about conceding.
Yeah, they have moments and then they can just score.
Yeah, they're very technical. A lot of them, they love the diagonal balls. All these, they take a risk. Basically, they come to play football. They come to score. They come to just create havoc. And listen, they did a fantastic job. All credit to them. I'm just glad that we kept a clean sheet. We did our job. We got the 3 points. And on to the next one. I was just looking here. Their shots on target, they had 3. We had 5. So it kind of goes to show that they were quite there with us. It wasn't too much of a dominating performance. Even though our first 20 minutes were all over them, but yeah, it was a good game of football to watch all around, and just happy we didn't drop the ball at all.
And Olympiacos have been our bogey team in the Europa, especially. So it was nice to kind of put to bed these bogey teams. We've been doing it We did it with City in the past, or first Man United, then City. With Chelsea, we also, like, already in 2021, we were putting Chelsea to bed. So it's nice to get the bogey teams and then the Newcastles now. Now it's the West Hams. Now I think the Bayern one I'm really looking forward to is like getting back Bayern for all of the pain that they've caused us. So we are kind of breaking a lot of psychological barriers as well in the performances that we're putting in. And I really like.
I was actually just about to say, I'm glad you mentioned that because, I mean, as you said, Olympiacos have been a bit of a bogey team for us. Sporting, when they knocked us out, Europa out of nowhere, that was a bit of a botch job as well. I mean, even just our Champions League run last season, I think was fantastic. I mean, the fact that we just bashed Madrid like they were nothing. We're unlucky, I mean, to lose to the best team, which was PSG. But I mean, I think this team as a whole, like you were saying, they're breaking over these psychological barriers. And to be fair, I don't ever really go into many games anymore thinking, oh no, this could happen, that could happen. I kind of like, okay, time to do our job. We're probably going to do it. Let's do it. Even though we haven't won anything yet, it's still nice to see that these things are coming together. I know we got to be a little bit more patient than others sometimes, but I'm just going to enjoy the ride while it's still going.
I think that's the thing is, like, a lot of fans want the destination, but there's a journey as well. The journey is actually going into games and not stressing about conceding. Like, I know we're going to have more clean sheets now than we've ever had. Like, we've had, like, Raya had 13 and 13 clean sheets in the last 2 seasons. That was Raya. But I feel I think Raya is going to get like maybe 17, 18 clean sheets, maybe even 20 this season. I just see us chowing clean sheets in the league. And then in the Champions League, we haven't conceded. So we've actually conceded more, I think, more in the Premier League than in any other competition, which is interesting, which just shows the level of the Premier League. Let's go to, I know Ryan has to jump off soon, so we'll come to Ryan quickly and then Andre. Ryan, I know you've already shared about Olympiacos. I just want to hear your quick thoughts on the West Ham game. We'll go back to Andre and Olympiacos. So quickly share, I know you need to jump off and share about West Ham.
Sure. So the West Ham game, the West Ham was a bogey team. I think of all the losses we had last season, West Ham was the one that hurt the most because we really didn't play well. We didn't have energy. We kind of gave the game to them, which was completely out of character for us, even though, we had been through injuries and we'd got all those red cards, but there was still a lot of fight. I felt like the West Ham game, that fight had kind of dissipated a little bit. And I don't know if there was just fatigue because, the Bournemouth losses, at least we challenged them, and Bournemouth are a tricky team. Bournemouth play this kind of mid-block. Actually, they do move into a low block as well. So it's a bit of both. It's a really difficult team to play against because they counter-attack really quickly. Nottingham Forest were really good with that last season as well. This season, a bit of a mess. So I think we'll get rid of the bogey kind of curse that we have once we beat Bournemouth, and I think we'll be happy. Maybe Fulham as well. West Ham was another example of us showing how good we are as a team because we didn't do anything especially exciting. We played our traditional game. I thought it was really brave from Arteta because it's probably the most attacking lineup we've seen in years, actually, to play Eze and Odegaard at the same time, both in that kind of 8 pair with Rice at 6 behind them. I thought it was really bold from him, and I think we've seen a lot of bold moves from Arteta this season. And if we win the league, this could be his masterpiece because we've seen his evolution from Pep 2.0, as he was called, and then the Athletic saying he's actually transitioned into a Mourinho-type manager, and then people were saying he's too negative. And then we fell apart with all the injuries and red cards, but we still managed to get second, and I don't think he's given enough credit for that. This will be the moment where we see him rotating. We see him playing aggressively with these 2 10s, playing them as an 8 like he did against West Ham, moving players around. We've seen Saka on the left at times. We've seen players move into. We saw Eze play at right centre mid at a stage. We've seen Calafiori invert. We've also done some overlapping. We're playing this incredible kind of 4-dimensional chess football, and it's culminating in us, honestly, in my opinion, having the best team in the league right now. So what happened at West Ham was we walked in, we dominated them, and we left, and we only needed to score 2 goals because we weren't actually worried. We actually slowed down because we figured, you know what, let's rest the guys. That's how good we are looking right now. Watching Liverpool, we knew they were vulnerable. We're finally seeing it. We saw what Chelsea did to them. Man City, I watched a bit of it earlier on, and they still look like a very good team, and Haaland is a monster. But I think they've had a slow start. I do think we're the best team in the league. So I'm going to finish off by saying I think we might win the double.
Double what double?
The league and the Champions League. I said on this podcast I didn't think we'd win the league. Honestly, I think it's happening, guys. I think we're going to take both, and we're going to laugh.
Bro, I've felt so confident for the Champions League, but now the league is looking so open. I do believe we'll take one of them and then win another cup. Like, I do think there's a possibility that we could win 2 trophies. I'm not sure we'll win 2 of the big ones. I think we'll win one of the big ones. But I have never felt this way in a long time about Arsenal, like the confidence that I have about the league and about our squad and about every game we go into. So thanks, bro. Pratisha says, Ryan, believe. Yes, Ryan, believe.
Yes,
thanks, Ryan. Let's just end with you jumping off with us standing, because if our team is top of the league. Come on, you got to stand, everybody. Stand. There we go. Okay, good. Okay,
Cheers,
thanks,
guys.
Ryan. I know you need to jump
Enjoy,
off.
much love.
Peace, bro.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.
Cheers. Bye.
Okay, Renee, let me just add him again. Okay, let's go to Andre next. Andre, what's your thoughts on the Olympiacos game?
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm not there yet. I can say like we're winning the league or the Champions League. I honestly feel like the Champions League is easier to win than the Premier League at the moment.
Yeah.
The quality is much higher. And these teams have the opportunity to dissect our play week in, week out, formulate a strategy, and they play accordingly. With the Olympiacos game, my highlight was Martinelli. Honestly, it was Martinelli because he could have taken the drop to the bench as a negative and he's turning it into a positive. He's playing some of his best football at the moment, and he's asking a lot of questions about Teta. And it's good questions to ask as well because there are games where Trossard is starting, and as good as he is, there's a little bit of drop off in his form. So that Olympiacos game was perfect, and I think honestly it was Odegaard's best game in over a year as well, which is why I'm a bit gutted because of the MCL injury he sustained yesterday. I was actually hoping that the Olympiacos game was going to be the springboard for him to kick on into a decent run of games where the assists start flowing and the goals come outside the box again. So it would be interesting to see how we adapt and adjust our style of play. Because we don't know at the moment how long Odegaard would be out, but it's again a case of because of our depth being so good, we don't really have that same issues, the concerns of oh, he's out, Saka's out, or Odegaard is out. Like how are we going to adjust, and how is the injury going to affect us turning over points? We have Eze there, we have Waneri, who they said is they're going to switch up from the right wing to the midfield. We have Dauman to be excited about as well. So yeah, it's kind of exciting to think that we even in the midst of having a few players out, the quality of our team is not dropping. We're consistently putting the points on the board. Olympiacos was for all intents and purposes, they were fast, they were direct. They like Foden's was harassing Ben White, and for the most part, he dealt with it well. Um, just getting out of those games and not conceding is also another statement that we are here, we're not going away. I honestly feel like we could go deep into the Champions League, and yeah, like Ryan said, we could possibly win it. Honestly, I do feel like we could win it. It's just a case of treating the game with the respect that it deserves and holding each other accountable to a high level of play, and then we could literally take it over. I don't see many teams questioning our back four or asking the questions that could result in goals. I believe there's a reason why Gabriel and Saliba are so highly sought after. There's a reason why Luis Kelly is in the national team and Calafiore is in the Italian national team. And another guy that goes relatively under the radar is Tumba. I honestly believe he's the best right back in the league at the moment. He stands shoulders to shoulders next to Hakimi. That's my honest opinion.
I think that's a good call. I think a lot more of our players are shifting in from the elite category to world class. I would say, I mean, everyone has a different way of rating world class, but I rate it something along the lines of the best player for the last 2 years, the best 3 players in the position for the last 2 years, and I believe Gabriel has now shifted into that category because of the last 2 seasons that he had. Timber, I would say he's elite, but I wouldn't say he's world class yet. I would say Rice, Saka, Saliba, Gabriel, and Raya are world class. So I think it's a very interesting time that we've got a team where there's more world class players, and there's more players that are going to become world class this season. It's very, very interesting times. What is your thoughts, Renai, on which players of ours are world class?
I would say Raya. Raya is currently one of the best goalkeepers in the world. And easily, I think he can start. So this is how I rate players as to whether they're world class or not. I look into the top teams in each and every, say, top 3 leagues and see if, for an example, if Raya were to go to a Real Madrid, I believe he can start. If he was to go to a Barcelona, he would start. If he was to go to a City, I still believe that he would start over what's the City keeper? Donnarumma. I believe he can start over Donnarumma. So that if I also look into those positions and check those top teams, if a player can easily walk into the starting lineup of those teams, I believe that they have a shout in to be classified as world class. Saka is definitely one of the players that I would say they are world class. Zubimendi, I'd say, is also one of the players that I would also rate in that category. Gabriel and Saliba, I would definitely have them there. And I would also have a Merino there.
I know you like that guy's coach, the Spanish coach.
Yeah. But okay, here's my argument. I mean, I know he gets a lot of stick, especially in instances where he's being started with Rice as well as was the so not favored starting trio?
Zubimendi, Rice, and
and Zubimendi.
Bro, we lost you there.
Am I on?
Oh, you're back. You're back now. You're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if we are to look into him solely based on the fact that when he start with the unfavored trio, I think it would be a bit unfair because look at him, the way in which he adapts. I mean, the adaptability of a player also speaks to the quality of the player. Where we need him to make a difference, many a times than not, he comes in and do exactly just that. Where we are in a situation wherein we need a moment of magic, more than what we've asked, I mean, he has produced it. And he's been doing that for us, even though he's done it only wherein we were squeezed, or rather, we were pressured to ask of him that much. He delivers that. And then for the national team as well, he does that as well. Wherever they ask him to play, he delivers the goods. So I would agree with the Spanish coach to say there is an argument to be had on whether is he world class or not. So yeah, I would have him there as well. Gyökeres, I'll also have him as a world class striker. Not based on what he has produced for us yet, but given the track records that he comes with, and how highly he's ranked at the moment, as far as even things such as your Ballon d'Ors and stuff like that. So I would also have him as a world class player. I mean, we cannot have a couple of games moving him from a world class player to bottom of the radar type of player. So I would have him there as well. And yeah, a whole lot of other guys are almost there. They are in the elite level, but I believe by end of the season we'll have a lot of world class players. Funny enough, I was listening to Talksport, and these are the guys that normally give us a lot of flack. And for some reason, I think the narrative is also changing. We are starting to hear a bit of positive talks about Arsenal, which is insane, unheard of. So I sense that we are going to be having a good season, and a whole lot of other players would be climbing up to a world class status. One player whom I know shouldn't take long to be in that class would be Lewis Kelly. I feel he's one of the guys who would who
We lost you there, bro. Sorry, we just lost Renai there. Okay, let's continue. Daniel, what's your thoughts on world class?
World class. I know this has been a massive debate over the years, especially when it comes to Arsenal players. A lot of our players will, specifically Saka, likes to get compared to a load of people. But yeah, in terms of world class players, I would say we definitely have a couple in that category. I'd say Saka's one. He's been very consistent over the years. Definitely within the top three in that position, I'd say, in the world. Gabriel, definitely. He's been a massive contributor to it all. And the other one I'd love to throw in is Timber. I mean, maybe it's just me being a little biased. When we signed him, it's just a style of play. There's something about the guy that I just really, really like. If I have to compare it to anything else, it's like watching Ches and Colby for the Springboks. Ches and Colby has got like this. He's just world class at everything he does. And Timber, for me, does the same thing. Like on the ball, he's incredible. Defensively, he's incredible. He's extremely composed. Where do you really ever see Timber doing something that he's not supposed to be doing? And even to add to that, he's not the tallest guy in the world. I think he may even be under 6 foot. For a footballer nowadays, it's pretty short. And he's still winning. He's still contributing on corners. In terms of goals, I mean, he scored, I think, two against, was it Nottingham Forest, I think. He's definitely one I would add into that category. And of course, another one would be Declan Rice. I mean, that guy, yeah, when he came to Arsenal, who would have said that he was really good at set pieces? I don't think we'd really seen him ever take a set piece. And this guy's proving to be like our set piece king. The amount of consistency on his corner kicks alone are world class. Let alone when he ignores our set piece coach and starts banging in these these free
Top
kicks
bins.
from
Top
long
bins.
distance over and over again. And yeah, he's another one I'll definitely add to the list. But what I will say is, with regards to the squad, we've watched this squad now since Mikel's joined and what he's been trying to build. And over the last few years, including last season, I kind of looked at our team with this sort of little bit of immaturity, if I can say that. I didn't see them as the ones that were like, okay, these are the ones to really get us over the line fully. You would obviously compare it to your opposition. You would think, okay, Liverpool got your Van Dijks, your Salahs, and you see how they're turning up in the games and stuff, and keeping that consistency. And our guys would obviously start phasing off a little bit towards the end sometimes. Where this season, I see our players in a very different light. Especially, and the best example would be Saka. I think over the years we've seen him, and we'd always refer to him as the star boy. Everyone go, oh, that's the star boy, and people would even mock us for calling him that. But now I kind of see, especially when you see with that captain's armband, you see a guy that's going to carry, a guy that's going to consistently be there. And I kind of get the same sentiment from a lot of opposition fans. That's how I usually start gauging a lot of the atmosphere about our team. I never really hear opposition fans anymore ribbing our players. You'd always get an opposition fan make a snidey comment, about Saka, or a snidey comment about Gabriel, or a snidey comment about our players. I don't hear that much anymore, to be fair. I don't hear them trying to downplay our players and be disrespectful. Sure, they can never go and say you haven't won a trophy and all that. That's fine, but you never really hear them criticizing our players, because I kind of think a lot of them would actually like having quite a bit of our squad in their teams. And that kind of says a lot to the maturity and the level that I think our team is actually on nowadays. So yeah, we've got a good crop of players. I don't to be fair, I don't really engage too much in the world class thing. I don't really feel we need to prove anything to anyone. I think I really do think wholeheartedly in the end we will have the last laugh. And I said that about Arteta in the beginning. People were like, he's never had this job before. He's Pep's cone boy, and I thought, just hold off, relax. Let's see what happens. And I still feel that way. I still feel okay. Us and our squad, we will lift those trophies we've won it.
Thanks, bro. Let me go to Andre next. Who do you think is world class, bro, in our squad?
That might be very controversial, but the one player I don't believe is world class at the moment, or is on the way there, is Raya. 80% of his game is amazing, to be honest with you. Distribution, no, he's up there. I think he's the best distributor of the ball in the league. Best shot stopper. I think last time I checked, he saves around 78% of the shots that come his way. The one issue I do have, but it's kind of a bit of it's an annoyance for me. It's whenever there's a set piece, he gives up too much. He gives up too much for the set piece, for the free kick taker. He would either stand onto the far left or the far right and invite the shot. So it kind of frustrates because the moment the primary movement is made, he then loses all momentum, and when the shot hits, he then has to generate the momentum again to try and make the save. Especially like the earliest example we could use is Szoboszlai's free kick. Honestly, felt like if he was a little bit more centered, he would have had a lot more room to adjust and save that. But because he gave up so much space, his primary movement killed off the potential to make the save because he then had to create the secondary motion. So, and I think everywhere else in the game is phenomenal. Like, there's no goalkeeper that can make the reaction saves that he does at this particular moment in time. I think the only guy that we could really give a shout out to is possibly Donnarumma. I swear the guy has 8 arms. And then if we're looking at Saka, I kind of already said it 2, 3 seasons ago. Based on his output alone and the level of respect our opponents have for him, like there's no other winger in the league that has 3, 4 guys marking him at the same time. That in itself isn't even a question anymore. I know Rio Ferdinand is staunch and he digs his heels in that Saka's not world class, but any player that has 3, 4 players marking him at the same time is world class. That is a level of fear and reverence that it's already they already know this is the guy that can hurt us. And then Odegaard as well, I think he's on his way to being world class. I think it's just a consistency issue, and at the moment, the injury isn't going in his favor. Um, I think Gabriel as well. He's kind of leapfrogged Saliba in quality, in a sense, where we've always believed that Saliba is like our Rolls Royce, but I think we have a Bentley next to him. Like this guy is a wall. He is a mentality monster. It's very difficult to get into his head. Even watching that exchanges with Valtemada, he literally got under that guy's skin, like to the point where Valtemada was complaining at Sky Sports after the game. Calafiori at times, I think, how is this guy even a left back because he shoots like a striker. He's on his way there. He's a he's playing at a very very high level. And then my main focus is Zubamendi. Honestly, he has been world class for the last 2 years. Justifies the price tag, justifies the inclusion every single game, and I agree with him there as well. And I know that Jokeres is world class. There's a reason why he's been voted the best striker in Europe for the 24-25 season. It will take time to adjust to our style of play, but I like the work ethic, the work rate around his positioning, he's asking the questions, and a lot of the things that the analysts have been saying throughout Europe is he's not good with headers, he's not good with link up play. He's proving them all wrong. He's very strong off the ball. He's linking up with our players. He's got a couple of headed goals, and he's always in the right position to either turn over play or help out in defense. And that's all you can really ask for from any player, especially a new player that's coming into the team.
That's good, bro. I just wanted to share while we're going to shift now to talking about Arteta. We're talking about his record after 300 games. So I just want to get it in another window here, and then I'm going to screen share. So I don't know if anyone's seen it. I can't find the graphic. If someone does have the graphic, please just screen share the graphic that compares the amount of wins after 300 games compared to other Premier League managers. And this is in the Premier League, not in all competitions. Oh, yeah. Only 3 managers have ever won more than 177 times in their first 300 in charge. And that is Pep Guardiola with 219, Jose Mourinho and 996, and Kenny Dalglish with 185.
Sure.
So he's even above Wenger and Sir Alex Ferguson in their first 300 games, because Ferguson had a tough start to the Premier League, which is similar to Arteta. So very interesting. Let me just screen share so you can see the article. Any thoughts on those numbers, Daniel?
Yeah, I saw that one of the guys, that might have been you, sent it to the group, and I was shocked, to be fair. I mean, listen, I've always had faith in Arteta from the very beginning because, I mean, just when I listened to, when he obviously arrived, our club was kind of a bit of a shit show, to be fair, if I can put it that way. There were a lot of players that were kind of just going through the motions. There was no pride in the club or anything like that going on, and he identified that. And he started talking about these things. And obviously, you could see he had that stable foundation and what he believed in order to try get us back to the top again. And, to see that record, 177 wins after 300 games, and you compare it to obviously the other great managers, it's actually frightening, especially when you start adding in the context that this is his first job ever as a manager. We're not talking about an experienced manager that's been winning Champions Leagues, and because he hasn't even been around long enough to have that sort of resume. And the fact that he's been able to do it and take us from where we've been to this is, I can't speak highly enough of him. Whether he gets us over the line, it's a whole nother question. But to see his stats, it's actually quite frightening to know that he hasn't won anything serious. Because you look at all the metrics of him as a manager, his wins like at 177. I think that's equal with Klopp, right? Klopp was also 177.
Yeah. So here's can you see the screen share now?
Yeah.
Only 3 managers have ever won more. So yeah, I think Klopp was equal. But compared to Wenger, he's got 177 wins, 56 drawn, 67 loss, and points per game 1.95, and Wenger was sorry, it's just a bit lagging. Wenger was 1.89 points per game, win rate 54.6%. So that's phenomenal. It just shows how the Premier League's quality has improved since Wenger was around.
I also think what kind of like contributes to that again is also the context. He joined the club when we were 8th consistently, and in order for him to do what he's done, again, you think back to, I mean, I saw his starting lineup the other day for his first game. I think it was like Mustafi, and I'm trying to think who else there was, but it was like kind of, to think where we are now and where he started, it's actually insane. Especially, you think about it, we've been through this transitional phase from absolute rubbish to this, and the fact that he's been able to maintain those stats so consistently, including in there those terrible years that he's had to endure and the squads that he's had to obviously use, it's actually pretty scary. I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things you can do as a manager is consistency. Sometimes you'll get a manager that turns up, they'll have a great season, and then everything falls apart again. I mean, Antonio Conte for Chelsea had an incredible season, dropped off, never heard from them again. There's been a few of these one-shot wonders. Where the slot becomes that, I have no idea. But yeah, just his level of consistency is very hard to argue as to, why anyone would want someone else right now, to be fair. So yeah, I'm very impressed personally. Yeah.
Definitely, bro. What's your thoughts, Renai?
Yeah, I would also agree. The numbers that he has been able to produce so far, they are quite impressive. I think the obviously there would be an element of those numbers would mean very little if there is no silverware that comes with it. But not to take anything away from him, I mean, you don't have a lot of managers that are starting out for their first big gig with a top 6 side, and to have done what he has done, I think it would be an understatement to say that he has under-delivered. Yes, the silverwares are not there, but taking into consideration of the fact that there's been a lot of learning on the job that has happened, I think if you take those type of thoughts into consideration, I think it would then allow you to appreciate him more on what he has done and being in a position where he is contending constantly. So I highly rate him. I've been one of the people that at times I've been frustrated by some of his calls, but also taking into consideration the fact that there has been a lot of learning on the job that has happened, I think he can only get better from where he is now. So yeah, I'm quite happy with what he has done so far. It would have been better with the silverware, but I think it's something that will be coming on very soon, given the manner in which we've been playing and the manner in which he's been also very dynamic into addressing some of his shortcomings that he has been having, like things like your late substitutions, the rotations of the squad. I think those are some of the things that, for the longest of time, a lot of us have criticized him on those things. And it's also good to see that, given the nature of the depth that he has, he is addressing those shortcomings. And hopefully those that can result in him lifting some silverware. I think it would be really sad to have a situation where, after doing all that he has done, he doesn't get to win a big trophy.
Yeah, I agree, bro. Yeah, now let's continue with the other stuff on the agenda. We kind of got sidetracked with the world-class discussion. So the other thing that we were going to look at was injuries. So we got Odegaard, that's just been injured. I think the Premier League nominees for the Player of the Month and Arsenal Player of the Month been raised yet or not? Not yet. Okay, then we can leave that. Let's just talk about our title rivals in the EPL. So let's talk a bit about Liverpool. I think this is Renai's favorite topic. So I'd like to hear some of the other guys. We know what Renai thinks about Liverpool. Let's hear Andre. What do you think about Liverpool and the way they've showed up this season so far?
Honestly, I don't think it's sustainable for them. It might sound as if I'm shifting the focus from them, but even the games earlier on in the season, you could actually see that the late winners helps gloss over the paper. It looked great. You won five in a row, and you won in the 84th minute, in the 90th plus minute. It's the perfect storybook story where you're turning a potential draw or loss into a victory, but it's not sustainable. If you play that type of way, it does catch up with you, and it's evident in the last three games of Liverpool. You could see that Crystal Palace, for example, 96th minute. Yesterday, 96th minute against Chelsea. You kind of look at the defense, Konate and Van Dijk off the pace. You could see they off the pace, especially Konate with the unforced errors that he makes. And you can also see that they're suffering without a clear CDM. We tend to forget that Gravenberg is not a CDM. He is a CM playing in the CDM position. The CDM that they actually have is Endo that sits on the bench. He gets bit part minutes. And then you're looking at Salah as well. They are looking every bit the age. Salah especially, as well as Van Dijk. We forget that they're going to be 34 years old this season, by the end of the season, and most likely their last season at Liverpool. And Allison as well. He's not as sound as he used to be. So long term, it's not sustainable. I think it's the perfect opportunity for a younger Arsenal squad to capitalize on that. Also bearing in mind that I think the biggest unknown this season is going to be Chelsea. They starting to click. You can see they're starting to click. Spurs, we all hate Spurs to be honest, but Spurs have a very good manager in Frank, and they're starting to have a semblance of a team that can compete. But they will always be Spurs. It's in their history. They're going to beat a top six team and next week lose to a 17th, 18th place team. They're like Robin
It
Hood.
is the history of the Tottenham. It is the
Yeah,
history of Tottenham.
it's just it is what it is. They're like Robin Hood. They take from the rich and give to the poor. It's like it's United is a non-factor. But honestly, I feel like City is only going to be as strong as Haaland's output.
Haaland and
These two,
Rodri. If one of them,
yeah,
I mean,
and
Rodri's just got injured now, and if
he just
Haaland
got off
gets
the bench
injured, they
now.
will
Yeah.
fade. If Haaland gets injured, they will fade as well.
Yeah, so with respect to City, like honestly, it would hinge on Rodri and Haaland. There's a lot of like the Kuzanov guy. He's a raw talent. the quality is not yet there. He will give you a 7 or 8-4 5 times every 10 games, but he's not going to consistently perform. So honestly, I think it's the best opportunity for Arsenal right now to capitalize on it, but also just to also not get ahead of ourselves. The league is very competitive, and I honestly think the
Very.
surprise package is going to be Chelsea.
I would even say Crystal Palace and Bournemouth could make charges to the Champions League spots, not to win, but I think they could seriously push for those Champions League spots. And I mean, the way Palace played against Liverpool was just
Yeah.
wonderful. Like
Oh,
they
good.
could have scored like 4 or 5 goals easy.
Yeah,
So
Matic was wasteful. Yeah, he was wasteful that game.
yeah, Palace are. I mean, I know we're not meant to have second teams, but I think Palace is probably my second team. Like I love because we've taken Ian Wright and Eze, two of their best players, and now they've like become our. They're gonna. I mean, Eze is gonna become a legend, and Ian Wright is a legend. So anyway, sidetrack. I know you guys need to go. Daniel, do you want to just quickly speak, and then I'll end with Renai?
Yeah, sure. So I had a little bit of a weird take when it came to Liverpool, especially with regards to their transfer window this season. So I don't know if I was the only one saying this, but the way I was analyzing them was they've obviously sold a bunch of players, right? And unfortunately lost Jota in a very, tragic circumstance. And at the time, they'd only signed Ekitike, right? So they lost 3 attackers, signed one striker who has actually hit the ground running, and I think has actually been fantastic for them. And I was
Yeah.
kind of praying that they would sign Isak. And it sounds weird because most people will be like, oh, why the hell would you want that? He's like one of the best strikers in the world. And for me, him and Ekitike are like carbon copy of each other. So to go balling 120 million pounds on kind of another version of what you already have, instead of addressing all the frailties, the depth at centre back, they signed that 18-year-old Italian who's now torn his ACL. They've got one centre back as backup for Van Dijk and Konate. Konate already went off against us. Van Dijk's pretty aged. All it takes is an injury, and just at centre back alone is a problem.
Them
And I
not
know-
getting Guehi was the worst thing that they did.
Exactly. It's left them very short in that position. And Andre spoke about it, was the 6. They don't have a defensive 6. Gravenberch has been fantastic for them. However, sometimes you need to prioritize being robust. Being able to control the game, making sure the game doesn't get out of your hands like they've been experiencing. They've been leaking goals. And I just feel the way I look at their team, player for player, don't get me wrong, they've got incredible players. They've got Wirtz, who on paper is amazing. They've got Isak, who on paper is probably one of the best you can find. Salah had a fantastic season last season. You've got Virgil, Alisson. They've still got the bunch of players, but I view their squad as the way I viewed our squad last season. We had a good 11, but you just know that as soon as an injury hits, there's going to be a massive knock-on effect and our squad will not be able to cope. Where this season, I view us the way I viewed Liverpool last season. Liverpool had so many players to choose from, and sometimes I think that's what gets you over the line, is being able to just have those players when something drastic happens, you have injuries, and you can just tweak it and twist it up, and you've got that adequate backup to come in and maintain the level and just get the job done. I don't think Liverpool have that array or that depth to keep them there this season, to be fair. I think we'll see a lot of individual great moments where they will still get their points that they need, but I don't think they have enough to sustain them for the season, unless, of course, they have an incredible January and somehow manage to create that stable base again.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. January could be a problem for us if Liverpool buy well, but I think they've just spent way too much money
Exactly.
in July, August.
That was my thought behind Isak. To go throwing that amount of money, you've spent, what's that, about 250 million on 2 strikers. 2 strikers. Like, why did you need to spend 250
And
million on
Wirtz, I
one
mean,
player?
Wirtz hasn't played well. I'm going to share a comment now when you guys log off. Thanks, Andre and Daniel, for joining us. I know you guys need to log off. I'm going to share my screen. It's been a pleasure to have you. I'm going to share my screen. It's a comment from my friend Ramiz about Wirtz and how it has not been a good tactical move to have Wirtz in there. So I just want to share my screen, and then you'll see what he wrote on the WhatsApp group that I'm on with him. Let me tell you, James, the Wirtz signing was a problem when the last time Liverpool played with the traditional number 10. When was the last time? Sorry. Probably Coutinho, but their best midfields were always full of three runners, maybe not the best on the ball, but three workhorses. That's why they were able to play Gravenberch as a lone six last season, because they had runners around him in Szoboszlai and McAllister. I don't think Gravenberch is the best off the ball, but he was able to hide the last season because of his cover from the midfield partners. This season, you lose that with Wirtz. Even though you see these stats of on the ground that he's covering, that he looks really busy. For the past 3 seasons, Liverpool were always very good defensively. A big part of that is obviously Virgil van Dijk, but the main reason was that midfield and front line. The high press couldn't allow teams to get close to the back four of Liverpool. They simply aren't able to do that anymore because they sign players who don't suit the system, and now you've got teams easily breaking the lines, running at the back four, which has Frimpong, who's defensively worse than Trent, and Kerkers, who look good in transitional-based Bournemouth team, but were able to sit behind a 9 and hit the ball on the counter, hit the teams on the counter, and an aging Virgil van Dijk and Konate, who's just been poor. What's your thoughts on that, Renai? Quite an in-depth comment from Ramiz. Oh, sorry, you're on mute. Sorry, bro. Just start again.
Oh, sorry. I would agree with a lot of what he said. But the Liverpool defensive issues is not something that is starting only now. If you go back into last season, I just don't have the stats in front of me right now, but you would notice that there were a lot of games where they needed a lot of individual brilliance to come back into the games. They had a lot of games where they were winning games during what we previously labeled as figgy time, where they would get an additional 9 minutes or whatever, and they would win games in those times. So it is all good and well to have that type of mentality where you are able to get back into games like that, but it cannot be a sustainable strategy to go on and try and win games and win the league back to back using the very same strategy. And one key element that they failed to address was the fact that I think if you were to look into last season, Trent Arnold was very, very, very impactful in that team, in a sense that he created so many chances. For a defender, if you compare his stats on chances created versus even attacking midfielders from other teams, he had numbers that were shocking. They were brilliant numbers for a defender. I mean, it took him one long pass to find Salah to get a win. We saw that happening a lot of times. There were even times where he would actually score goals that were very decisive as well. So my thing was, as soon as I saw that Community Shield game against Palace and the way in which they considered those 2 goals, I realized that they are still going on the way in which they were playing the previous season, wherein they relied a lot more into outscoring the opposition. And you can only outscore the opposition for so long. I mean, Salah was incredible in giving them the goals they needed to ensure that they will outscore the opposition. I mean, there were games where they were winning 3-2, 4-3, 2-1s, but in a lot of games they hardly kept a significant number of clean sheets, meaning that there were frailties that you can pick up into their defense. So I was not really shocked. I mean, their fullbacks, what they do is a lot of times when they are attacking, both of them are going forward. And as a result, what they do is when they get caught on counter-attacks, Van Dijk is caught wanting. I mean, the imbalance in that defense it's quite shocking, so to say, for a team that is a defending champion. I think they are still going to be exposed a lot more than they have, and we just need to ensure that we keep on getting our points. Even if they were to address that in Jan, I don't think it would be enough because those guys that will be coming in, they would need to fit into the system. And the way in which Arne Slot has been approaching this also would make you appreciate Mikel Arteta a bit more, because if you look into the way in which he's going into these games, there is tactical unawareness. It's like he's crossing fingers and hoping something will happen, because tactically I haven't seen as to what exactly is he trying to do to address the shortcomings that the team has been experiencing so far. So I think it could be another element of inheriting a team that allowed him to cross over the line because of the the advantages that I've already highlighted, where there were a lot of individual brilliances where Salah would single-handedly win you games, and the element of Trent creating those chances for him as well. That was a difference maker as well. So I think it would be very, 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 very good for them to make top four, but I don't see them defending their title. And solely because of the way in which their defense is set up, it's not convincing. It doesn't give you anything that says this is a team that can go all out and win it. And the fact that they also need to identify as to how they can, I mean, they've signed Etiquette and Isak for big money. One way or the other, those guys, they need to play. So they need to find ways in which they will integrate them into the team, which is not going to be an easy thing because they are more or less a carbon copy of one another. Obviously, the other one would just be a little bit more experienced than the other. But if you can check, they play almost the same. So I think he's got a lot to worry about or a lot to work with and a lot of fixings that he need to get to. And we are right. We're just in the right position. We are in the perfect space, so to say. So I think they will have a frustrating run of form. There would be games that they will win, but it would be a very interesting run for them because of those factors that I've already highlighted. But I'm not really convinced that they are a team to beat. Similarly to City, I'm not also worried much about City as well, because if you look into the De Bruyne factor, he made that team tick. Yes, I get the fact that Rodri was also very important, but the manner in which De Bruyne would make that team tick and play according to how they've been playing for the longest of time when they were at their very best, I think he was the heartbeat of that team. The way in which he would be able to combine the defense and ensure that he connects the front line. I think that was something that they are not able to do like they did when he was there. And Foden would do it from time to time, but not consistent enough. So Chelsea is room. Yeah.
I think a fair comment would be Rodri's the heart, but De Bruyne was the brains. De Bruyne was so intelligent in the way he would pick apart defenses, and Rodri was the solidity and the heart. And when they lost Rodri, and De Bruyne didn't have the best season last season, that's why they dropped off so much. Now they sold De Bruyne and Rodri's injured again. They're looking one-dimensional with Haaland being the main threat. And I know Reinders has been playing well, but it's just like he is new to the league. And I have you seen much of Cherki? Like, has he been doing much?
Well, I wouldn't say he's been doing a lot much than so far. It has been a mixed bag where you are getting decent performances from him. But if he would be one of the guys who will carry the team, I think it would take a couple of games for him to integrate into that role. But so far, I think they're also going through as a team, they're also going through an identity phase where they need to find a way in which they will be approaching their game going forward, which is a good thing for a team like us because now we seem to have that identity on how we are approaching our games. So we are in a good space compared to our rivals.
Definitely, bro. So I think let's close the pod there. I just wanted to say we are playing Fulham. It's an international break and then Fulham. So we only have one game to analyze next pod, which is going to be a bit boring. But I think we've had so much that we've talked about now. And I think we can maybe look into more some tactical stuff, some predictions and tactical things, and even maybe doing like a look at what we think will happen. We can also talk about the Saliba signing the contract. We didn't talk about that at all today, so we can talk about that next pod. So just remind me about Saliba. But thanks for your time, bro. It was really a good pod. Sorry for being late again, and always enjoy spending time with you guys. Thanks for joining us on the Mzansi Gunner Podcast.
No, always a pleasure to share about our beloved Arsenal. And by the way, the signing of the season had to be Andrea Beta.
Yes.
Yeah, but Beta has to be the signing of the season.
Yeah, he's changed our lives. That's a good one, bro. I like that. So good way to end off. Let's end the stream there. Thanks, guys.
Oh, cheers.